Hey everyone, thanks for checking out this part in the two videos for the Pac-12 predictions. This one is the North Division only. If you haven't seen the South Division, go check that out. It will be in my videos. I posted it yesterday before the Arizona State game gets started. And then just today, it gives it a couple more days till Saturday for the rest of the teams and the teams in the North to get to their games. And we got a couple games here, and one is intra-division. That is the USC-Washington State game. But before I go on to say that, I just wanted to again say, I said this in the last video, but I wanted to say it again. Just my record for the Pac-12, it's 9-1 straight up and 7-3 against the spread. You can check that out on Reddit. Go search my username, TC Tykilla, no spaces, no caps. Go look at my comments, and I give you the top 25 picks as well as the Pac-12 picks there in their weekly prediction thread. And if you guys are interested, I will definitely start doing a top 25 prediction video as well. Let's get on to it. I'm going to start off with the bye team this week, and that is Washington. I got to see their game, and definitely a great game as far as the program goes. 38-6, big win over number 19 ranked Boise State. They are no longer ranked, and Washington jumps into the rankings this week at number 21, and they play at Illinois next week in Chicago. But a great game by them. Keith Price goes 23 for 31 for 324 yards. That's a 176.8 passer rating, 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. That interception came on his first throw of the game. It wasn't looking very good there in the first drive for Washington, but they got it going, and it was only 10-3 at the half. I think they scored 3 consecutive touchdowns in the second half and just added points on little by little, and before you know it, it was 31-6, and they were putting in their backups. And yeah, it was just a dominating performance. You can definitely tell on the defensive side. The offensive side, I think the play calling was a little vanilla. I don't know if that's what they're going for with their new tempo offense. A lot of screens to the outside, a lot of short routes, but that hopefully will open up to longer routes in second halves of game this week. They had a good little technical play, at least in my opinion, setting up their first touchdown. They just ran a play with a man in motion and a screen to that guy. So they ran a guy in motion again, and they fake a read to Bishop Sankey and do also a little pump fake to the man in motion, kind of like they're running the same play as last time, but they pump fake it, and they throw it to a man one-on-one against the Boise State coverage. It was either Kevin Smith or Kason Williams, I'm not sure, but they just a beautiful throw to him and a beautiful catch on the fingertips, and that set up the first touchdown for Washington. On the defensive side, a lot of people have been saying this, but it was a bend but don't break type of performance. They allowed a lot of short passes against screens, like I'm not used to seeing Boise run a lot of screens, but they were doing that, and they're letting the guys get the shorter routes and not allowing anything up top. I believe they had one throw that was over 20 yards, but that was incomplete. I think their longest was 16-yard completion. A little bit of bad tackling, but they kept everything in front of them, and they pretty much hit the receiver right as they caught the ball. So a little good effort by them. Bishop Sankey finished the game with 25 carries for 161 yards, a 6.4 average, and 2 touchdowns. So the offense is looking really nice, and the defense just need to work on tackling, and we're going to be kind of scary, especially when ASJ comes back in week 3. Moving on to games this week, Stanford had a bye last week, and Kevin Hogan and company are excited to get on the field. No real weakness on this team except for maybe wide receiver, who's going to be catching Kevin Hogan's throws. And they play San Jose State, who played a good defensive game last week, holding Sacramento State to only 270-ish yards, as I said yesterday, because Sacramento State plays Arizona State. And I'm going with Stanford, 34-10. They aren't going to blow anyone out, I don't think, but they're definitely going to be in control of the game pretty much the whole time. and not let San Jose have any opportunity or hope to make the upset. Next, I'm just touching on this game again, kind of from Washington State side. I did talk about USC in the last game about their quarterback situation. Washington State last week went into Auburn and barely lost 31-24. Holiday threw a lot of throws, 65, but only completed 35 of those. Still had 344 yards, 1 touchdown, and what killed them is 3 interceptions. The receivers definitely stepped up. These receivers are probably going to evolve into some of the best in the conference come middle of the year. They had 9 receivers with 2 or more catches, and they had 120 yards on the ground, which they definitely need to have some sort of ground game in order to kind of balance things out and not just have secondaries line up in pass coverage every time. Next, we're going on to the flounder team of the week, Oregon State. What a big loss by them, albeit a good FCS team in Eastern Washington, but it's still an FCS team, and you are a ranked team. You do not lose these games. That is unacceptable. I'm surprised a lot of people are out in arms about it. More people are kind of going towards the North Dakota State game against Kansas State as the big upset of the week. So I guess that's good for Oregon State, but North Dakota State, 2-time defending FCS champion against a Kansas State who is really down after losing Colin Klein and some other key players. The Oregon State allowed 500-plus yards to Vernon Adams, the quarterback of Eastern Washington, alone, some on the ground, and I think 400 through the air. Something like that, and it was pretty much the defense's fault because Oregon State's offense was rolling. Probably one of the best outings for Mannion. 191.5 passer rating. He was 37 for 43 on his throws, 6 incompletions for 422 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Storm Woods, 16 carries for 68 yards, only a 4.3 average. Hopefully they can get him closer to the 100-yard mark in some of their games, because that's definitely going to help. Brandon Cooks had 13 catches for 196 yards. That's a 15.1 average. He had 2 touchdowns, and I think he's leading the country in receiving yards right now. I know it's week 1, but definitely we have some Biletnikoff candidates in the Pac-12 with Marquise Lee, Brandon Woods. Brandon Cooks, sorry. I'm going with their win. Hawaii's come into Pac-12 territory this week instead of the opposite way around, and I think Oregon State will rebound with a 38-24 win. They need to get their stuff straight. Going to the California Golden Bears, Geoff had 38 for 63 yards, 38 for 63 for 445 yards last week. A great first debut by him. Threw a lot of passes, 63. That Bear Raid offense by Sonny Dykes, pretty good in their first outing against a ranked Northwestern team. It was pretty close late in the game before the final score was 44-30. He threw 2 touchdown passes and 3 interceptions, another killer there. And Chris Harper had 11 catches for 151 yards for 2 touchdowns. And they got Portland State coming to town this week, an FCS team. I think someone said they won by 40 last week. I think Sonny Dyke said that in a press conference. I think I saw that on a tweet or something like that. But I think California, as we saw last week, is definitely improved. And I think they'll pull this one out pretty easily as they kind of get a little bit more used to that offensive scheme. 49-17 in the Golden Bears' favor. And the final game of the week for the North Division, Oregon over Virginia, at Virginia, I should say. Mariota, I saw this first stat, 12 out of 21 for throwing, and I was kind of worried. He didn't seem up to his old self, but he did have 234 yards still on only 12 completions, 166.5 passer rating. And 3 rushers were over 100 yards, and another receiver was over 100 yards. So 4 people were over 100 yards of production. last week, and that includes Thomas. He had 18 carries for 128 yards and 2 touchdowns. Byron Marshall, 8 carries for 124 yards and 1 touchdown. Marcus Mariota, 5 rushes for 113 yards and 2 touchdowns. And 4 rushers for Oregon had over 100 yard per 10 yard average per carry. So that's pretty crazy. Hopefully they continue that into this week and maybe in the conference play. If they can get that sort of production, they are going to be unstoppable. Huff also had 5 catches for 118 yards on the outside. No touchdowns for him. And I think I might be a little too optimistic for this one, but I think Oregon just trounces Virginia 52-10, and that might be a little too good to be true. They might put in backups, especially on defense, and allow Virginia to score another garbage touchdown or 2. But that's what I got them. So Pac-12 wins all around, except for Washington State. They obviously, someone has to lose between USC and Washington State. So hopefully there's some good action this week. I know it's kind of a little bit of a cupcake weekend for the Pac-12, but hopefully that Pac-12 game between USC and Washington State is good. And we finally get a look at conference play. And a lot of teams improving. California, Washington State, Colorado, Utah all look improved. And it's going to be a fun year in the Pac-12. Thanks for watching. Check out the North video and my rankings on Reddit. Thank you. Peace.